Dear applicant, join us as we guide you through the application for the Habitats Trust grants. Whether you are applying for the THT Conservation Grant, the THT Action Grant, or the THT Research Grant, you will first need to register yourself on the application portal. Log on to www.thehabitatstrust.org/grants and click on the Apply Now button. This is the registration page. Start by filling in some basic information such as the name of your organization. In case you are applying as an individual, please put your name. Add project locations, the various species you have worked on, your contact number and email address. Finally, select the grant category you wish to apply for. Great, you are now registered on the portal. Click on this tab on the top left to go through the detailed guidelines before you apply. You can also download them for your reference. We have also addressed a few common queries here. In case you'd like to go over the questions of the entire application form offline to be better prepared, here are downloadable sample forms for each grant category. The form has 4 parts to fill in total. You cannot proceed to the next part without completing the current part. Let's begin. Before filling the information, please read the description in each field in green carefully. This will help you understand details required to answer every question. In the first part, start by adding the proposed project title in less than 20 words. Now, let's get to section 1. Here you can click on the drop-down menu and select whether you're an organization or individual, the grant you are applying for, and finally whether you're a government or a private institution or an NGO. Let's proceed to section 2. Please go ahead and add the details of the contact person for this project. In section 3, check the box to confirm that the information provided is authentic. Going over to section 4. If you are applying as an organization, please tell us more about your organization's mission and other details. Add the date of establishment as per institutional documents and years of experience in the field. If you are applying as an individual, you will need to fill in your bio, your qualifications, and the number of years of your experience in the field. Whether you are an individual or an organization, you will need to fill in the total funding received and annual expenditure including field activities. This should be aligned with your audited accounts for the previous financial year. Next, tell us about a few key projects undertaken by you in the last 3 years, preferably those relevant to the project you are proposing. You can click on the plus icon at the bottom right to add more projects. Finally, fill in the details of some of the key office bearers working in the organization. You can add up to 3 names. If you are an individual, you are not required to fill the above section. Super! You have completed part 1 of your application process already. Remember to click on this button before we move further. Guess what? The data filled so far has been saved for your convenience. And if you wish to go back to edit the previous part at any point, you can. But ideally, do not change the grant category. Alright, let's get to part 2 now. This part is important because this is where you tell us in detail about the specific project you are applying for. If you are filling the THT Conservation Grant or THT Action Grant, start by adding an outline of the proposed project, focusing on the need and expected outcome clearly. If you are filling the THT Research Grant, briefly outline the proposed project, including a statement on research questions, challenges, and expected outcomes. Please fill the status of the project, whether it is an ongoing or a new project. For all the 3 grants, fill in the exact location, the state, the latitude and longitude. Also upload an image of a map of your proposed project location. For THT Conservation Grant and THT Action Grant, begin with listing the context and conservation challenges. Next, describe the focal species, the habitat, and where the project will be carried out. Then, fill in the information of the key flora or fauna your project is impacting. You have to mention the IUCN conservation status or the Wildlife Protection Act schedule for each of your entries, up to 5. If you are filling the THT research grant, tell us about the context and how your research aligns with current conservation priorities. Next, state your goals, objectives, questions, and how these will address key research gaps. Describe any work you have done in the past pertaining to the above-mentioned species. Share this with us in the THT Conservation Grant and THT Action Grant form. Add in the objectives of your project clearly, preferably in bullet points. Next, fill in the logical framework field carefully in 500 words. Remember to read the descriptor in green. The next field is critical. The key to a successful project is a well-defined and pragmatic logical framework approach and an activity timeline. The logical framework approach section is where you fill in the objectives of your project, the various activities you plan to undertake, their output, outcome, along with the measurable indicators, and lastly, the perceived challenges. You can add more rows using the plus icon. All activities mentioned here should be reflected in the activity timeline. The activity timeline is divided into half-year slots that span over 3 years if you are applying for the THT Conservation Grant, and 2 years if you are applying for the THT Action Grant and THT Research Grant. We recommend you spend time filling the next 4 fields so that you don't miss any key information. Here too, the descriptor lines in green below each field will help you understand the points that you will need to cover. If you are applying for the THT Conservation Grant, you have to fill in the field on sustainability or replicability. In both the THT Conservation and Action Grants, you have to fill the field on community participation. If you are filling the THT Research Grant, you only have to fill the methodology and the expected research impact. Next, if you are filling the THT Conservation Grant form or THT Action Grant form, tell us whether this is a fresh project or a scale-up of your pre-existing project. If you are partnering with others for your proposed conservation or action project, such as NGOs, community partners, government agencies or corporates, check this box and provide the details of 1 to 3 representatives within these organizations. If not, check this box. If you are filling the THT Research Grant form, please list the expertise of up to 3 key personnel in your team and add information on collaboration with other stakeholders. Now let us move over to Section 6. Please provide 3 references of people who are familiar with your work in the field. List the name of their organization and the contact details of the person who is attesting your work. We may reach out to these references as part of the evaluation process. Finally, proceeding to the last section in this part. If your project requires permits, authorization, and licenses from any government body, please provide details on such permissions and their current status. For research grants, please check the additional information that is required to fill in regarding the ethics. Congratulations, you are halfway there. Click to save the information. You may take a little tea break before proceeding, should you wish. Welcome to Part 3, where we understand your project budget. A descriptive budget is essential for a complete project evaluation. We've broken the budget into various heads, so please fill each segment in detail. If any of the budget segments are not applicable to your project, check the box below that. We start with personnel costs. Please include salaries, insurance, and provident fund in the costing. Do specify full-time and part-time personnel. If you wish to add a row, click on the plus icon. Honorariums and consultancy fees should also be listed here. Next, we come to activity costs, which should include costs of all field activities geared towards achievements of the project objectives. Please note that we encourage a majority of your budget to be spent on activities. Next, list all the equipment including phones, cameras, laptops, etc., and other fixed assets that you wish to procure under the proposed project. Travel costs would include all travel undertaken by project personnel in carrying out the project activities, including long distance, local travel, and local hiring of vehicles. Communication costs would include monthly mobile expenses, couriers, costs of reporting, media coverage, and any other costs incurred during monitoring and coordination of the project. Administrative costs would cover your organizational overheads, rent, electricity, bank charges, audit fees, etc., incurred specifically for this project. Please note that all the costs you feed in would automatically be added under each budget segment and also appear as the grand total. If your budget includes expenditure on pre-existing fixed assets, please let us know how the stakeholders will be trained to use the equipment and how this equipment will be used post the current project duration. Next, we proceed to the funding schedule. The grant amount should be split biannually over the period of 3 years if you're applying for the THT Conservation Grant, or 2 years if you're applying for the THT Action Grant and THT Research Grant. Please note that the grand total here must match the grand total calculated in the budget table above. You will not be able to move forward with your application unless these figures are the same. Finally, please provide the total project budget, including funding from other sources. Here, please list your own contribution and funding received from the government. Under the Others column, please list funds received from NGOs or corporates. The Habitats Trust column will be auto-filled based on the information provided in the budget table. You have come to the end of part 3, a critical part. Make sure to cross-check all data filled so far and click here before proceeding. All right, you're on the last leg of your application process. Part 4. Section 9 requires you to upload all relevant supporting documents. Here is a list of all the documents you will need to upload in this part. Please make a note of each document required, the format, and file size for each. You may take some time to prepare these and keep them ready in a folder. This would ease the process for you. If you are applying as an individual, you will need to upload only some of these documents. To make the due diligence process of your organization easier, there is a compliance checklist that we've put together for you. Download this file, fill in the details, sign, and then re-upload the file by clicking on this button. Now, click on this link to download the declaration form. You will need to print the form, sign it by hand, then scan and upload it on the portal. If your work has any media coverage, you can upload up to 4 latest media pieces. You are nearly there. Under Section 10, you can add any additional comments about your application or leave feedback on the application process. Do mention how you heard about the THT grants. Congratulations, your form is now complete. Please review all your data, edit whatever you need to, and when you are satisfied, you can download a copy of your application process for your record by clicking here. Are you ready for the final step? Click on the Submit Application button at the bottom part, and voila, your application has been submitted. You will get an email confirmation of the same. On behalf of the Habitats Trust Grants team, we thank you for your application and wish you luck. If you have further queries, please reach out to us on our helpline numbers listed on our website or email us at grants@thehabitatstrust.org.